koroga everything and not get the results. Hapana, no.
See, me nisema initoke.
Sema ikutoke.
Do you guys know what happens in schools?
I do.
Look, we deal with so many issues at the same time. We can talk about it from a ministerial level and from a treasury level, whereby, you know, there should be quality assurance coming in from the ministry. Yes. Their education officers, they actually do exist in terms of whether they're actually going around to ensure that there is quality and to ensure that, you know, education is actually going in the process in which it should. That's what they're there for. Whether they do it or not remains a story for us to we don't know. The last time an education officer went around and did quality assurance, we don't know.
At least we know they showed up during Echoes of War.
But they showed up during the, you know, drama festivals, right? But in terms of there's that level where there's the treasury, it's supposed to be doing what it's supposed to be doing in terms of sending money out. Then there's the ministry, which is then the implementer of policy, right? Where these things happen. We do then have different branches and different departments. That's where your National Examinations Council comes in. It's where your curriculum development comes in. It's where your TSC comes in. All of these other departments fall under that. But then as though we don't have enough drama in those circles, whether they're TSC letters that are being handed to members of parliament as opposed to getting the, I mean, it's a whole mess there. And then we have a working party which is supposed to bring about education reforms. Do you see where I'm going? Yeah. All of this is happening up there. Now, we are here thinking that in these institutions, that things are happening properly from A to Z, no problem. And that them, they're just waiting for the external parties to do their job. They're waiting for Treasury to send money. They're waiting for the Ministry of Education to set policy and implement. They're waiting for education officers to come and then make sure things happen. Or more, inside of there is where the war is actually happening. That there are teachers who are posted to particular places who are teaching things that they don't know from Adam. Yeah. That there are processes happening in schools whereby we are not even, there are teachers who are teaching chemistry for which the girls have not seen their chemistry teacher more than 3 times in a term. It is happening today. There are courses whereby a teacher will come and stand in this math that we're talking about, that Titi keeps asking us. If you're saying there's a problem with math, why don't we look at our teaching methods? Why don't we look at the motivation methods that you're giving to children? We'll come and stand there and teach. He has written things on the board. When he finishes writing, whether you've copied or not, he'll erase and start again. Yeah. It happens in Kenya today. I'm telling you, the product that we are releasing after now it is 6 years of primary and then 3 years of junior sec and then 2 for senior sec. Yeah. The product that we are releasing, boss, as if those other issues were not bad enough from policy and whatever, the actual practice of education is wanting. Gone are the days when Mr. Muga now was teaching at Star of the Sea in Mombasa, and that people can remember him today. Sorry, Dr. Muga. Yeah. And that people can remember him today, right? The things that are happening now, today in school, my goodness, it's tear-jerking. What do you expect? What do you expect when you see an adult today of 25 that cannot conjure up a sentence or even put something down on paper, and then you tell me, it's their upbringing. Where did they go for 18 years out of their life? Where were they?
In school.
Were they not in school?
Yes.
Who was the guardian? In school.
You know,
what things actually happening in school?
In loco parentis, you're there instead of the parent. Yeah. That's what teaching implies. But is that what a modern day teacher, there will be teachers who really take their job seriously and they know this is what we must do. True. Essentially, there are people who actually take as though it's a calling. But there are very many others who know this is a job you do to be paid, and at the end of the day, if these children are bothersome, tell them these parents, you brought up your children badly. So you don't want to take part. And then there are those who complain, but you know, if you try to be strict with the teachers, with the students, their parents will flog you. They will sequester you. They will do all manner of things to you. So, how did we get here?
We just stopped giving education priority, honestly, City.
Actually,
it stopped being a priority.
It is a priority in theory. We started valuing money. Because teachers are not well paid. And we are in a time when you are respected when you are known to earn money. Like us sitting here, you would be shocked at what people think we earn.
Profit.
They know we earn money, more money than we can count. Okay? Why? We're in the media. And when you're in the media, you are known. When you're known, you are a celebrity. And celebrities earn money. If only they knew the truth. You earn a wage, yes. It's a living wage, yes. But what you hear and see when you're on your social media about people in other Western countries who earn, that's them.
That's them.
That's them. Now, so long as teachers are paid the amounts they are paid and their livelihood is managed the way they are managed, in a society and a time where we worship money and money is our God, teachers will always be looked down upon.
CT, you actually raised something very critical, especially in the education sector, because look at money and what it does in private schools and public schools. There is a correlation even in terms of performance, whether you like it or not. There is a reason why you find parents nowadays will move mountains to take their students, their children to private schools, because they know they are my children. My child will be given the attention they require. We are not dealing with absence of capitation to schools and whatnot. And perhaps even the classes that you're talking about, private schools actually built them kitambo sana. We're talking about laboratories. They put them up. So when it comes to quality of education from public and private school, there is a clear distinction on where a parent will work so hard to take their child. Are you shocked?
What did we have? Did we not have community schools?
We did.
Who put up community schools?
It's the parents.
What are we talking about? Yes, they did.
Yeah. The ones we call Harambe schools.
Yes.
Yeah.
What would then happen? And then even their church-sponsored schools, what then would happen? The government would take them over.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay? But essentially, the people who built them, the people behind them, were not necessarily the government. Now, communities where you found many community schools abounding, in time when the government took out those schools, they end up with more schools, which means they had understood the importance of education.
True.
Now, the rhetoric around education and the need to change it, and the need to proselyte, because exactly you are evangelizing people into believing that the new system will bring in something that is infinitely better than the previous one. You know, we believe what we are told because we have no reason not to. But now we are being given reason not to believe.
Yeah.
If you're told this thing will work and you read what is told, you say, this thing looks good. And then you ask, okay, this good, how is it going to manifest again? You talk to experts, they can explain to you the CBC or CBE, and believe me, when you hear it being explained, it makes a lot of sense. But the preparation that is required to make it work,
and the implementation metrics, which you have not even seen how they are going to come in, you don't even think about those things.
We imagine the thinking process required to bring these things about.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, who on God's good earth is influencing us to take certain steps like this?
Fantastic question.
Question.
Why?
Proper question.
Because we keep changing. Somebody comes and says, oh, you should. Then we jump and we say we're going to change. Oh, you should. Then we form a presidential working party. Oh, then you should. Oh, we're going to change this and make it a model. Oh, then you should. Then we go and change. CBC becomes a thing and takes over 844. Then somebody comes and makes a suggestion, presses you somewhere, steps on your neck. Then you say, okay, let's change. Then somewhere down the line, you say, let's change it from curriculum to education. You're just pandering to the whims of somebody else. For what? And putting your children, who are the pillars of society, on the altar of the desires of an external force.
You see,
that's the truth.
Even conversation around changing this curriculum was based on the fact that in the current times, our education system does not fit in where the world is headed. Clearly, there's influence coming from somewhere.
There is
influence coming from somewhere. And even then, when we are changing our education, it is comparing it with something else. So we need to get to where these people are. And even when we're changing mathematics because apparently it is not, who told you?
You guys, I just thought about something. Those who are influencing you to alter or change your education system, it is no different from what they did many, many years ago, whereby they came and they said, let's give you this thing and let's put it in a book. You know, we've been accused that if you want to hide something from an African or from a black man, put it in a book, right? So they came and gave you this book whereby it's as though all the trade secrets for life were in a book. Things that we did, and we had things like oral tradition, we had things whereby we passed on messages from one to the next, but they put it in a book. So what am I saying? They gave you education in a certain way in which now you had to then consume it while they took your resources.
Yeah.
So they come to you later and they tell you, you know what, we actually think you should change your curriculum, or these are suggestions about what you can actually do with your education system. So we keep you in this cyclical nature of confusion.
Yeah.
So because that's not what we've done. CBC has come. It came about 6 years ago. We're just moving because the guinea pigs for CBC are now in grade 9, and they started at grade 3. So now we just keep going, changing, moving. Somebody comes, makes a suggestion. Oh, do math, don't do math. What does that do for you? It keeps you in this constant state of, I don't know what I am doing, but hopefully I'll get down the mountain at some point with 2 of my shoes still on. But the people who are telling you to remove math, guess what? Their societies are already fixed, so that by the time you come out of this education system, you have a plethora of options in terms of what you can do. Do we have the same?
No. Let me tell you, sir. Actually, it's okay.
It's okay.
You see, we talk in terms of our curriculum-based education wants to ensure that even kids tap on Internet of Things. That means coding and whatnot. But we are talking at a time when even high schools like Form 4s, Form 3s, do not have computer labs. And even if they have computer labs, what are they being taught? Word, and PowerPoint. Nothing to do with coding. Dennis Aseto. Kimalel Primary School. We saw computers, sour, but we used to play games, solitaire and whatnot. We went to high school. We had a computer lab. Word and PowerPoint is what we studied. The same thing happens today. If you go to countries like China, talk about Korea, go to the United States, by the time a kid gets to 4 years old, they're able to code and even come up with games. These are people we're competing with. And key aspect of that is being able to read binary codes and numbers that you then get to enter into the machine for it to give you a result. We are removing math. Yet a 4-year-old is able to understand basic math and come up with an app. Si mimi nimesema ni dunia tu. And especially we are copying those who are directing us.
We need to open our eyes. We need to actually open our eyes and see what's happening around us. And this is the thing I continue. By the time somebody comes to you, by the time somebody comes to you and makes a suggestion about what you should do with the fundamental pillars of your society, you have to question what their intent is. There is no way they will come to you and say, well, there's this nice shiny thing. I thought you might like to play with it, without seeing the reason behind what they're actually doing. Because if you were to ask a question today, to the people, few of them who are still left within the system, why did you change the curriculum? Can they give you an answer? Why did you actually change the curriculum? Are we trying to say that A44 was not competency-based? Are we trying to say that we were not garnering the best that we could out of that system? Look at where we are now, 6 years down the line, and we're still stumbling at best. What do you think is going to happen to those children? What do you think is going to happen to them when they come out with just half their shirt left on their back?
Who removed the competency-based aspect on 844? Because there was arts and craft, there was home science, and all these things were there in 844 before it was removed from 7 subjects to 5 subjects.
The influence that you see there began actually with the 844. And the reason is this. If you look at how it is when we had what is referred to as the British system, which they still have, just so that you understand.
Yes, they do.
They still keep it.
Yeah.
There's something that happened that I think may have displeased someone. Yes. When our students go abroad, they fare very well.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
And sooner rather than later, they start taking over those jobs that your people have, because they are competent and they are competitive and they don't joke.
And nobody's really happy with that. These are the questions that we need to start having. We need to be real about some of these things when we consider them, that what is actually happening behind the scenes. There's a reason it's called behind the scenes. The people who perform for you on stage, behind that curtain, there are many, many things that are happening. And it's time for us to open the curtain. It's 26 minutes to 8 o'clock. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. I don't know what road the Member of Parliament for Saboti constituency has used, but let's see if Caleb Amisi will join us. Otherwise, this definitely continues. Good morning.
Good morning, and I want to extend my profound apologies for coming late. I'm a little bit under weather, coupled by, among other things, like traffic. I couldn't make it on time. But I'm here. I'll do what I can in the remaining 20 or so minutes. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. Are you all right?
Yeah.
The weather is trying
well. I'm doing well. Yeah, a little coffee here and there, but we'll talk to Wananchi
at some way.
Yes.
We would have, of course, loved it if you were here at 7, but we accept that and we thank you for being here anyway. We want to quickly look at the proverb for today before we get into a conversation. Shall we do that? CT is in the country of Algeria, and he'll share that proverb, and you can tell us what your interpretation
People's
of
Democratic Republic.
Oh, I beg your pardon. The
of Algeria.
People's Democratic Republic.
Okay.
They're not plants.
That's people's.
Yes.
The government of the people by the people.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That one. Speak kindly or refrain from talking.
That's why it's called people's.
Yes,
I think
yes.
it's just as clear as it is. If you have something to say, go ahead. If there is vitriol out of your mouth, then shut up.
Very simply so.
Yeah.
Indeed. So, Mheshimiwa, you're here this morning, and of course we are looking at questions and asking, first of all, does the government really care about what's happening in the country, or is all of this a political gimmick? You've been quite vocal, whether you have been speaking to crowds or whether you have sent messages on social media saying certain things about, you know what, we need to be very careful about the direction in which we are going. Many have called you a Renaissance champion in terms of saying Kenya must go in one direction. And here we are with so many things. And I've been saying for the last couple of days that it's actually been weighing on me. And I say, there seem to be so many things that are going on at the same time. And we can't seem to chart our path or see the direction in which things are going. You're a member of parliament. You've been vocal. From a lawmaking point of view, what's going on?
Yeah, there is something terribly wrong with the government. Of course, we've had governments before, from Jomo Kenyatta's, Moi, Kibaki, Uhuru, now Ruto. I think Ruto has turned out as the worst we've had since independence. That one, it will go down the history, unfortunately. The worst, why? Because nothing seems to be working. There is no legacy attached to this. At least even Jomo Kenyatta had a legacy of post-colonial legacy. But this one, there's no post-colonial, there's no neo-colonial, there's no pre, there's no after posts. So there's nothing to write home about this government. Secondly, the blunders locally and internationally. At the international scene, I don't think Kenya no longer has a name anymore. We've spoilt our diplomatic standing that has been created since for the last 60 years. I don't know any country. You could see the results of the African Union. Basically resembles our Kenyan standing in the international space. Locally, it's lies. And that's why some of us have stood up against all odds. I know my party is working with the government, but I've made it very clear to Baba Raila that I will not go that route. I've made it to my people that at some point we must have decency to champion a better cause. And in that, I've stuck my neck out. Of course, amidst threats, sometimes when I post something on social media, you will see calls from my office, sometimes even from NIS, sometimes from... I tell them, my friend, I'm not afraid anymore. I know some people, when they threaten, of course, they want you to stop and start working with the government. But I'm not that kind of a leader. if we all coil our tails, so we will save Kenya.
But Amisi, as we have this discussion, you belong to a house that is independent, the National Assembly, and you talk of the government that lies and calls from high places. And one would beg to ask the question, the National Assembly has been given the powers to oversight. You as a member of parliament, you are in a position to bring petitions, to summon all these officers, to get answers. You're being threatened. You report to the police. You call in the NS boss to give you answers. Why are you not doing that?
Yeah, of course, the petitions questions are there. Parliament does not pass a law because Caleb has brought a petition. Parliament will not call NIS because Caleb has requested so. Parliament as it is now cannot oversight the executive, as it were, by the principles of parliamentary democracy, constitutional democracy. We do not stand in that gap of exercising our oversight right. Why? Because it is predominantly members of the ruling party, and those members of ruling party are not independent in their decision making. They are controlled by the executive. You can have members of the ruling party who dominate in the parliament, but those members sometimes can even advise their president and say, look, things are not going on well. And these ones, they don't. It is instead they get instruction, which is very unfortunate. My colleagues from other side, ODM, they have also fallen prey to this gimmick. So we are left a few independent voices, other than those who are the remnants of Munyoro. Those ones we can't call them independent voices. Those are, I think, it's a result of of being impeached. Otherwise, if their boss was not impeached, they'll not be saying what they are saying. But there are people like us who, and despite what Baba has done, we come out and we tell him. I have told Baba to his face. Sometimes in fact, some of the reason why I was denied to chair Public Accounts Committee, I was told that I'm hitting the government too much. So I asked them, is Public Accounts Committee a ministry in the government? I thought the very purpose why it exists is to hit the government. So for me to be denied to chair a Public Accounts Committee just because I'm hitting the government, it's obscene. It's a convoluted system.
So would one be right to conclude that Parliament, as it sits today, is a toothless dog?
It cannot help Kenyans. Let's put Parliament aside as one of the institutions that we need. Of course, it does its fair share of the democratic work, like passing budget, raising voices where necessary. But when the rubber hits the road, where they are needed to now help Kenyans, they are aligned to their respective political parties, which is very unfortunate.
The Chief Justice Emeritus, David Maraga, at close to the end of his tenure, on the basis of non-conformity to the 2/3 gender rule, said that Parliament actually should be abolished. Yeah, essentially, I'm using a little bit more, but should be essentially everybody should be sent home on that basis. One would imagine that from what you're saying now, based on the inability, lack of capacity to get certain things done when it comes to the representation, lawmaking and oversight for Kenyans, that Parliament is not doing his job. On another basis, would you imagine that the same thing should happen for Parliament today, who seems to be operating at the whims of the executive?
Yeah, the Chief Justice was right. He was basically following the law as laid out in the 2010 Constitution, that if Parliament fails to meet the 2/3 gender rule within certain period of time, then it does not stand as a democratic Parliament. That was by the law.
Yes.
But is that practically possible? The law exists, but this law is made for man.
Yeah. So now if we move that to what you're saying, by your own admission, that Parliament, based on that question that Dennis has asked, that Parliament is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Is not.
So we face it out because of the gender rule?
No. Yeah. I was just making I'm making a connection that based on one issue, when it's not doing what it's supposed to do, phase it out. But if now, by your own admission, there are many other things that Parliament is meant to do, is not doing, would you then say then the same decision could be taken in terms of
that
what
decision?
could happen?
That decision of the Chief Justice, it was a legal decision, basically looking at the Constitution as it was passed. But it was not to say now, as a democracy, we do no longer need Parliament. It was not on the basis of the functions of Parliament in this broader structure of governance. It was just that the Parliament as it exists does not have followed the laid out two-gender rule. But remember, as much as we have law, if we happen to say that Kenya is supposed to have, Kenya as a country, as a state, must have at least 100 million Kenyans. So should we abolish Kenya because it has so many people have died and we cannot have 100 million Kenyans?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. 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 The reason why you parliamentarians have the power to amend, you have the power to legislate, you have that power. When you are talking about a principle, I do not think, now this is a layman speaking, that Maraga said the principle and the Parliament as a constitutional body should be abolished. No, he was saying this particular gathering that we're referring to as Parliament have not met that threshold that the law requires. Okay? How many times, not in this country, have we seen, no, we actually have at some point earlier on in our history, has Parliament been dissolved? Can Parliament be dissolved? When Hamisi, it can.
Yeah, it can. But what I'm saying that sometimes when a decision is made, you look at the broader interests of the nation. Yes, in fact, some of the principles of the court decisions is based on the interests of the nation. At that particular time, you dissolve a parliament, you have no money to take all these 290 constituency by-elections. There are things that we call national interests. You don't just say, now, this is the law, follow it. It's about national interest. At this point in time, as we are now.
You know, you're being selective as to the application of the law.
No. There are so many things, like now, we are supposed to have a by-elections. That is by law. There's somebody died in the office, somebody was promoted to an higher office, and a by-election was occasioned. Almost 5 by-elections we've not had. So can you say now Parliament has less 290 people? Can we abolish Parliament because it has not reached 290 members of Parliament? No, there is no IBC. But the law is there. Yes. The decision was made. So there are something that we are called, as we speak now, Parliament, in fact, it is not completely composed as the law says.
True. But is it not also clear, patently clear, that the decision of how we elect new members is not determined by Parliament? Not really.
But the IBC, once the Speaker has already communicated to the IBC is not there. The Parliament cannot conduct a by-election. It is the responsibility of the IBC.
You know, I was heading in your direction, but you've taken me back to my direction. So let me stick to my lane.
Yes.
Are you not, as Parliament, in a position to amend laws so that you cater for this little anomaly that you're speaking of? Where, because the Constitution talks about a certain timeline within which certain things must happen, does it not?
So we cannot amend law to allow a by-election to take place after 1 year. You know, what kind of decision is that? Just because there was a by-election yesterday, laws are amended for a reason. You don't make law in vain. You make law for a reason.
Thank you.
Just because there's a by-election, you can't come jump into Constitution and say, let's now amend this one to fit this one. You know, you can't.
I agree with you 100%. So when the Chief Justice proclaims and says, you fellows are in violation of this Constitution, which you just can't amend willy-nilly, we just can't say it is the law, but the practicality. Does the law really give you that leeway? You are told this is the law, and you say, no, excuse me. The interpretation then is taken to court, is it not? Yeah. And that's where it had gone. And then the court spoke. But let's discuss other things.
No, we need to also agree that the constitution has a lot of lacuna. And of course, we borrowed from other jurisdictions, and that's why we are trying to fit into our society setup. So it may not be a perfect document, and that's why some of these things that you talk about, amendment of law, they need a referendum. They don't just need 2,000 members to pass.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they need a referendum, and of course, the process of referendum, you all know. And of course, without an IBC, there is no referendum.
Okay.
And I think as well, when you talk about the roles of a member of parliament are three: legislation, representation, and oversight. Yourself here is saying you are unable to do that which the constitution tells you to do. Then why should we have a body that fails to respect the constitution in terms of the roles that it has been given? But that aside, you also speak in terms of failure to oversight. So who oversights the government if you cannot?
Yeah, that's I said, as we are now, the government is not being, we are not overseeing the government accordingly. Yes, that's what I have said, and I put it on record that Parliament as it is now
has failed.
It does not have the capacity to oversight the government, as it were, democratically speaking. Why? Because of too much leaning towards the executive position by members who are elected on the regime party, as well as members from opposition who are too vocal in support of the same regime.
Yeah, and why is that? We saw a broad-based government essentially come into play a few months ago. We see that individuals who you would normally be on the same side as have been, touting and, been celebrating this move. Again, this is where we saw the space that you play in, where you said absolutely not. Is this government that has supposedly come together, is it going to have staying power?
I don't think the government will have. In fact, they are living on borrowed time, because the wrath of citizens out there is waiting for Ruto and his henchmen, including Raila Odinga. I'm sorry, he's my party leader, but if we continue supporting Ruto, they are going to be combined together. They'll go home together by force. If anything like Gen Z comes now, that what it happens in June 2025. Now, there's no any other Raila out there to save Ruto, because they say now you are together. You'll have to go home. There's nobody who will now help him to stabilize the government. So it is not about who joins Ruto. If you join, even if Gachagua joins Ruto, today they will go home together.
So one of the issues that has been hot over the last couple of weeks has been this whole issue of the road maintenance levy fund, whether we should have NGCDF, whether members of parliament should control it or stick to their role of legislation, oversight, and representation. Don't be dealing with these things of money. We don't need you there. Your party leader has also come out to say, actually, you know what? Even this money that we're talking about, let it remain at the counties. Let the governors handle that. What is your position on this?
My position is that so far, as a person who has done, in fact, I'm elected twice, courtesy of my good work in CDF, purely because it is not on party. Where I come from, ODM is not predominantly the party. It's not on tribe. Where I come from, my tribe, Maragoli, are hardly 100. And I've been elected by Bukusus and the suburbs. Irrespective of the UDA, they left their UDA. They said only Caleb out of UDA. The rest UDA. On this other side, the DAP and the 40 Kenya, they said only Caleb. Why? No, because I'm a big-bodied, I'm a small man who is no standing in the society. But just
that's
because
true. By the time you're elected once or twice, you have a lot of standing.
I wanted you to say it. I can't blow my own trumpet. How can I blow my own trumpet? Yeah, that's why you are here.
That's why
yes.
Asante.
Yeah, so you can see these are reasons why, because of managerial skills that I portrayed. No, see, some of these funds, it gives a leader managerial, to showcase your financial managerial prowess. And I think it can be escalated down to the MCA. No problem. To me, it's not about a matter of devolving or who denies who these funds. It is the matter of are the funds in the right position in the right management hand, it can go to governor. But look at what governors are doing.
So
they are squandering everything. So it can remain at the ministry. But look at what the ministries are doing. So let it go even to the sub chief. No problem. It will get somebody who is very good.
But I don't know where some Kenyans live or what it is has happened in their constituencies. I have seen what CDF has done.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
So it doesn't matter. If we need to change the law, change it. CDF has played a very crucial role in development. In the absence of CDF, we would not have been able to understand the county government as we do.
Yeah.
My point and yours are the same. Given how the Auditor General reveals to us the mismanagement of county funds, and then you give them more money, out of the question.
I ask the question to Caleb.
In my constituency, everything is written commissioned by Caleb Amis.
Okay.
There is nothing written commissioned by Natembe or Patrick Simiyu. Nothing.
Caleb.
Completely nothing.
In the implementation.
Out of 9 billion. And mine is 150 million.
Okay, Caleb, you have done a great job with the CDF, as you say. And with regard to that, one would beg the question, who oversights the job that you do at the county? Because that is where rubber meets the road.
The oversight is supposed to be by the MCA, the county assembly.
But MCAs are supposed to oversight the county government. Who oversights Caleb Amisi on the implementation and spending of CDF fund?
Let me now explain to you. Let me educate you.
Yes.
The CDF is a bit, in fact, the member of parliament is just a patron of the CDF. I don't know whether they can have somebody oversight in a patron. A patron basically means you are not the AIE holder, you are not the project manager, you don't develop proposals. It is developed by the fund manager, who is an employee of the treasury, coordinated by the national NGCDF board. Is actually employed by board, and the board is an appendage of the treasury. Now, when the members of parliament, the prowess comes in, when you are able to come in as an over, and finally the member of parliament is an oversight to CDF, basically, that this one is done right. The Wananchi want this. Can you put this in your proposal to help these people? This is where our support and our input comes in.
Yeah.
So you cannot say a person who is now trying to patron, you are also telling them they need to have somebody to patron him again. It's not possible. But for the county, really, they make the budget. They decide where do we take this money. As I don't decide, I have no obligation to say this money can go to this. No. It is by, and it has, in fact, CDF has the lowest administrative cost. The lowest.
5%?
2 or 5% thereabout. The lowest.
So, I mean, look, our time is running out, and this is why it would have been great to have you for even longer. But we must ask the question. Monday evening, yesterday, 7 people died at the hands of security agents and over a land grabbing issue. You made a statement about that as well.
Yeah.
Where are we if we still have innocent people being killed in this manner by security forces in the country?
I will say the costs are growing. The costs to this nation are growing day by day. When you see innocent Maasais who are just grazing their land being sprayed with bullets by police officers who are supposed to protect. The government exists to protect the citizens. There are law. I don't think even 1,000 people can fail to arrest them if they are gone against breaking the law. Shooting people has become like a hobby by police officers and other people, gun carrying Kenyans. It must stop. This is insane because we are normalizing killing of citizens. We are making it something normal. In fact, by next year we'll have forgotten.
Sadly,
they are going to make noise in funerals. In fact, the people who are going to make more noise are those people in the government. They are going to tell you how they are going to arrest these officers. They are even going to say their names. They are even going to say how they could even arrest them, by the way. But then they are released the following day. Yeah. So this is not a government. In fact, in other jurisdiction, Murkomen could have resigned. Not even the police officers or the DIG. Murkomen, the head of internal security, he could have said, I cannot stand as a CS
and allow this to happen.
With this respect, I step down.
I hear you.
He can't step down. Maybe in his dreams. We must bring this to an end.
Absolutely.
We cannot normalize killing of Kenyans, innocent Kenyans, like chicken on the streets.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Caleb Hamisi is the Member of Parliament for Saboti constituency. A short conversation, but some nuggets come out of it. So thank you so much for being here this morning. Good morning. It's 2 minutes after 8.